Kurt Holdman here. You're listening to the Vern Entertainment Podcast. We just restarted it. Kind of a reboot. We've been off for a while. We got caught up with basketball and a lot of sports going on. So now we're kind of in the midst of everything, and we're doing this quarantine style, as you could say. But we wanted to get this back going because, again, we want to be a little bit more, bring some humor, bring some positivity to the light. And I think that's what's going to happen with our guest today. We're joined here with Chance Norquist and BMCC men and women's assistant coaches for basketball. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do there for the program there, Chance?
So it's kind of different with both programs. Just kind of help out both head coaches. I started off with the boys coach with Coach Baxter. This next year will be my third year. With him, I'm kind of in charge of little stuff, so he doesn't have to worry about it. So I'm in charge of making a lot of the initial contacts to the recruiting side. I handle all the fundraising now. And I kind of just make sure he's ready to go for game day if he needs anything. I take care of it for him so he doesn't have to worry about it. With the girls' side, Coach, I started helping him this year, and the idea of coming into the year is I was just going to help him with making calls to recruits and stuff. I just ended up going to all the practices and staying pretty busy with him. So I've been helping him with the schedule a little bit. We go on recruiting trips together. Kind of just help him with everything he needs on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, they keep me pretty busy.
Now, the recruiting aspect, you cover that. What kind of goes in detail on those trips that you take and kind of how that all sets up?
So, yeah, I mean, I help with recruiting on both sides, but, yeah, we'll just decide to go on we'll do our homework and we'll try to stop at, 4 to 5 different spots on a recruiting trip to make sure we're spending our recruiting budget in a good way because we only get so much at the college. And then we just try to build relationships and try to get people interested in coming to play at Blue Mountain.
Now, looking at both your team's seasons, you guys had an interesting season over this year. Can you tell us what you saw from the teams?
From the boys, we definitely improved a ton from the season before. I think we improved 5. I think we got 5 more wins than we did last year. So we're moving towards the right direction. Not where we want to be, but Rome wasn't built in a day, so it's going to take a little time. And with the girls, we had a ton of injuries early in the season, so we're trying to overcome that. And then we had, 8 to 9 girls at the end of the season, so it was pretty tough numbers wise. So we're going to work on getting our numbers up and getting after next season.
Now, this whole sports thing not going on during spring. I know it for me. It's like, oh, what am I going to be doing now for the rest? I guess other than podcasting and getting this back going, it's like, it's like a whole. I know there's a lot of people like, oh, we can deal without sports. It's like that's tough to do when you're a sports director when those sports is going on.
Yeah, so it's this whole quarantine thing going on right now. It's kind of hard because we had all these visits set up for the kids to come see Pendleton and come see our campus. But with that not happening right now, we're leaning a lot on our relationships we had with the kids and kind of like the other day, I haven't been on campus in a couple of days because we're not supposed to be up there right now. But like I would go do a FaceTime, kind of show them our facilities and stuff. So it's a lot tougher. So we're just trying to do the best we can to kind of get through it, and because complaining about it isn't going to do anything about it. So just being patient and just relying on all the work we put forward to help us get through there. So it should be interesting here. In 3 days is our signing date. So we'll be able to see where the kids are signing at.
And I'm guessing that'll be all virtually.
Yeah, so we'll send them we have a couple commits, which I won't talk about yet because we still have a couple days until they can sign. But yeah, it'll be nice to see where people are falling into, so we can start getting after other people. So
now I know with sports being mostly done, the only thing that's really going on, other than like this NASCAR thing that I've actually watched today and I thought was fascinating because they're all
NASCAR still going.
Well, it's different, and so what they're doing is it's virtual NASCAR. It's I think it's like eNASCAR and then some iRacing. So it's pretty much like a simulated NASCAR race, and they do 125 laps, and they actually have the drivers. They're in like they have like 3 screens. They're kind of in a cockpit version virtually. So they got the bucket seat, the gas pedal. They have pretty much the whole setup, and so and this is actually what they use to practice on events. So before a race, they go on this virtual, and so they get kind of a feel of what the track's going to be like. So they scan the track, they scan everything about it, and then bring it virtually so that they can race on it without actually being on the track. And it's actually pretty fascinating. And the commentary is hilarious because they bring in, like, the national anthem was just some guy who posted it from YouTube. He just sang it out of nowhere. They had Troy Aikman as the grand marshal, and he was cracking jokes the whole time. And then they have the racers can communicate with each other, and some of them, they're like, well, we're in 30th place, so why not we just start trying to push people out and fight people and stuff. And so, it's really actually pretty entertaining.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, I think this is the second week they've done. I think they started last week. This is the second week. They're gonna move on. They're just gonna keep on doing it, but it's actually pulling in really good ratings for them. And so,
what else is to watch on TV?
Well, exactly.
YouTube, or is it on ESPN?
It's on Fox Sports.
All right, we'll have to check into it.
Yeah, it's hilarious because they had one guy, I think it's Clint Boyer, and he was just like, well, you're sitting in 30th place. Are you ever going to try to move on up here? And they have Jeff Gordon as one of the commentators, so he's just giving him shit the whole time. And he's like, well, I was going to, some of these young guys, they know all these video game stuff, so I'm just going to try to get behind them and put my back wheel into them and see if I can spin some people out. That's kind of the go here, and try to catch up that way. And so they're brutally honest. And some of them, you see them and they've got like a beer bottle, kind of like they've got like their drinks and everything set up and associated next to them and stuff. It's pretty crazy, but it's pretty competitive.
Really?
But it's like the real deal kind of thing. It's one of those. It's probably like $1,000 setup just for them to play this game because they're like either in their garage or they're like kind of a basement kind of thing, and then they've got this whole, like, they showed it, and so you have the seat, you have the whole setup of the driver in the car, but then you've got like 3 flat screens kind of curled around so you can see everything. So it's essentially like it's a big virtual simulator of racing on the track. And it's pretty detailed to the point where they've got people's names, all their like sponsors and everything on their car the way it should be, and the names are in these little spots, and especially in like the cockpit version, it's pretty nuts what they do with that.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
But the commentators talking shit, and the racers can talk to each other and start mouthing off to each other and taunting and stuff. It's hilarious for what they do. But that kind of brings me to mind is I noticed that some of the NBA players and NFL players, they're all start doing these Twitch and video game things. This, if anything, would be a huge opportunity for the esports and like ESPN, Fox to really jump up because, they're social distance to begin with.
Yep.
You can log on anywhere, but this would be an opportunity to try to boost that up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the Twitch or any of that stuff. 'Cause, I mean, I play like one game of Madden every couple nights, but like, yeah, it seems like with all these guys having nothing to do, it seems like everyone's playing Xbox and just kind of living the dream, you know?
Yeah, you're still getting paid. You still got your contract money, and you're just taking a kind of a limited vacation,
Yep.
as they say. And who knows I mean, I know they were looking at a month for the NBA, and then they were going to observe it. So I think that was like April 10th or something, was kind of in the ballpark of when they're going to decide what they're going to do. And what is this going to do? I'm not sure what this is going to do with sports in the long run, and how long this lasts, because we've got football coming around. And they're not going to do any spring practices, and summer, they're not going to be able to do much. And then what's it going to be like with contact? Because if we're social distancing 6 feet apart, you basically can't play football.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if they're playing it, everything will be cleared up by then, hopefully.
Yeah, but there's a lot of time in between, especially college programs, that you're missing out on 2 or 3 months of practice, getting everything organized in your season, and that's if you don't even have the say so. I mean, you're kind of prepping, hoping for the best. But I was listening to Kirk Herbstreit yesterday, and it kind of thought upon my head is, if we don't have a vaccine or anything, they might not. I think the bigger picture is the program. What if one kid gets sick? You play a game, everybody gets sick now because they touched him, and now the program is underwater because they let him play the game.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I haven't really looked much into the whole, like, what's going on too much. But I'm sure if they're already playing and all that stuff, like, I'm sure everything will be taken care of.
Yeah.
If they're playing and everything. But the big thing for me is my Lakers are back, and this whole quarantine goes down. I'm telling you right now, I ain't fired up that we just beat the Clippers, and we just beat the Milwaukee Bucks, and then we're at this break. My Lakers are sitting at the top of the West, and I'm kind of upset because, we're looking good for title numbers,
Yeah.
another title. So it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I hear you.
Through 6-7 bad years, now this thing is kind of derailing the season a little bit. Hopefully they'll get back at it.
Yeah, and who knows if they get back to the season. I mean, the thing about basketball is it's not much as a contact sport, so I know they're going to try to be safe about it, and if they are able to resume the season, or probably and I was listening to LeBron James, kind of his idea, what he thought would be cool is that you pretty much have 1 through 7 kind of locked up into the playoffs. And so if they come back and it's just this is a shortened season, to have like a little tournament for those 4 teams that are fighting for that 8th spot, play a mini tournament to get into the playoffs, and then start the playoffs. And I think that's actually a pretty reasonable way to look at it, because if you're looking at the West and you've got those 4 teams, especially Portland, who I think benefits the most out of all this break, because they're going to have Nurk back, they're going to have Collins back, and so they're going to be healthy. And if they can grab an 8 seed, and they were kind of talking, it's like, who do you not want to see in that first round? And LeBron's like, Portland. Easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're dangerous. I mean, it'll be kind of interesting to see how Big Nerd comes back. What happened when he got hurt? What did he break?
It was I believe it was a leg. I can't remember if it was a right or left leg, but it was his leg. I think it was his leg.
Paul George type of deal?
Pretty similar. pretty similar.
Oh gosh. So I mean, how long is it going to take for him to be able to be 100% mentally going out there? I think with injuries like that, I think their bone or whatever will be full strength, but mentally they can be able to go out there and just hoop. Or
I think he will,
back there?
especially because he's 25. I mean, he's a younger guy, especially a lot younger than George when he had that incident, about 4 or 5 years younger. So, and he was actually supposed to make his start March 15th, right before or right after they announced the suspension. So, I mean, yeah, he was supposed to make that play. He was getting ready to play. But if you look at that lineup between, you've got him and Whiteside. So the post looks dangerous because Whiteside's, he's starting to, and the problem with Whiteside is that there's sometimes where he's playing and he's like, I'm not really feeling this game, and then he just kind of falls apart. But when he's actually wanting to play or he's feeling good and he's playing in a game, he's putting up double doubles like 25 and 17 numbers consistently. Yeah. And so you add Nurk in there, who's going to be more that defensive anchor in the post. You have both those guys, if they're rotating or even if they play, some of them play with each other in the post. That is a terrifying lineup to look at.
And then the guards are really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Too, so it's like, good hell, like, how are they not better than what they are right now?
Well, those early injuries can really put a toll. They have been fighting back, and Lillard went on this completely ridiculous stretch of averaging like 39 points a game. He had multiple 40-plus, 50-plus games. I think he dropped like low 50s on Los Angeles.
Yeah, he did. He put a 50.
Yeah. It was.
I really don't like the Blazers because I'm a Lakers fan, but I love Dame.
Yeah.
He's just such a loyal guy. I was really hoping that when he would hit free agency that, we'd have a shot at him, but of course he signed that really big deal with the Blazers because he's just a loyal dude. But he's just he's just a pit bull, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I know once it comes back, if it comes back, that's the main thing. I don't see, and that's where it kind of goes into, college. They at least have the leeway. I feel bad for the seniors basketball to not be able to participate in that Final Four or the March Madness tournament. That was, it's for safety reasons, but if you're a senior and your first opportunity to play in the March Madness tournament and then it gets canceled, that's a tough deal to take. Because a lot of those,
or if you're one of the one and done guys, you go to college and you get that one chance to play in the tournament.
Yeah.
And you get canceled, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, then you got the high school seniors. Like, I'm recruiting a girl. She won the state championship the year before, and then they go in as the number 2 seed in the state tournament, and they didn't even get to defend their title, which is tough. But
it is what it is. That's where
it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the tough spot for this whole thing. But again, everybody's safety is a higher priority. You don't want to see anybody's safety and harm just to play because it's a game. I know it. I've been involved in sports all my life, but at the end of the day, it'll move on and you'll move on to other things. So you don't want to prevent that trying to play a game and get sick or something that might cause you effect in the long run.
Oh yeah.
But other things we got going on sports wise, we got NFL free agency, and so there's been, for this off season, that's kind of the only thing been sports going is there's been a lot of moves. which is making everything interesting on how people, especially with the biggest one, Tom Brady moving on to Tampa.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't. I'm a huge Falcons fan, and gosh, I'm still trying to get over the Super Bowl loss that we had a couple years ago, and now I got to see the guy 2 times. I'm just like, you got to be joking. Just call it a career, Tom, and just retire, please.
Yeah, it is crazy, but I'm looking through this list, and this is like the top 100, and I mean, very few people. And then Dak Prescott. Did you hear that they're going to make him the highest paid player in the NFL?
No, they're not.
Dallas is working on doing a deal.
Oh my gosh.
I think
Good for them.
right now Wilson is the highest paid player, and it's about $35 million a year with I think like 103 guaranteed or something, or 113 million guaranteed or something like that. And Prescott's he's gonna be just above that if they get it done. They franchise tagged him so they could work on a deal, and so that's what they're looking at. But from what all reports are coming out and what they're looking at doing, I mean, that's a tough thing, because if you think in his contract year, he actually didn't play really that well. Trying to make all sources, I was kind of watching it. And last year, or the year before, the season before, he played pretty well. Dallas made it to the playoffs. I mean, they got ousted, as is kind of usual. But he actually played well, and he's like, okay, he's looking pretty decent. And then this year, he started out really well. I mean, he was, for the first like 6 or 7 weeks, Dallas was doing some business, but then the second half of the season, they just fell apart completely, and Prescott looked terrible.
What I'm looking forward to is quarterback guru coach that they just hired in Dallas. What's his name again? McCarthy.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how McCarthy and him do. I'd kind of wait off on this contract extension until at least 1 year in his system to see how he does. Because I can see McCarthy just drafting a quarterback and just going with him and spending that money other ways, because after they sign him up, they have $100 million in Cooper.
Yeah.
And then how much do they have into Zeke? 85 to.
They got quite a bit in there too. I mean, you're paying those 3 guys. If you complete the deal with Prescott, you're going to be playing those 3 guys like damn near $100 million a year.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really tough to be able to build a team when you have 3 players at that amount of money. So, I mean, I would trade him, I would sign him, and I would trade him for what you could get for him, and then try to build through the draft again and get some steals, because he's not going to be able to get any other guys because of how jam-packed the cap is right now.
Yeah, and what you see is Dallas, a lot of their defensive players moved on to different teams because they knew that they weren't going to get paid there, so they moved on. So Dallas is losing defense, and I mean, you're gonna still have Van Der Esch, which is big, but you lost Robert Quinn, you lost Byron Jones. You're gonna have Clinton Dix, which he's not a bad player, but he's been on 4 teams in the last 3 years, or 3 teams in the last 4 years, or something like that. I mean, he's all over the place.
Yeah, it's gonna be last chance here for Clinton Dix.
Yeah.
But they do have Jalen. They do have their other linebacker, Jalen
Smith,
for a while.
Yeah.
So I mean, they'll be all right, but it's just gonna be interesting seeing how much they give them, because for a guy that hasn't really done much in the playoffs, that's a ton of money. I can see why Seattle did it. Russ got into 2 Super Bowls, and won one, and was a handoff away from winning a second one, but Pete called for a pass play, looked like there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's tough, but, gosh, is there anything worse in football than Cowboy fans?
I'm not going to answer that question, but no. No, but, and I'm interested in seeing actually the teams making moves this year. have been the better teams. Usually at this time you're thinking of, other than probably the Dolphins, that with all the money and picks that they have to make trades and pick up people, they've been kind of handing out contracts left and right. But, I will say Dante Fowler, not a bad pickup for the Falcons to kind of replace on the edge.
Let's hope to see if he can put some pressure on the quarterback. Kind of tough when our safeties haven't done much to cover guys.
Well, that's the thing with the Falcons is their defensive backs, and you guys just lost Trufant.
Yeah, that was outstanding. I was pretty upset about that. But we'll see what coaches got in store for him, because we started out 1-7, I think, 1-8 last year.
Yeah.
And then Dan Quinn was fighting for his job, and I think we finished out the season. I think we were 9.
You were fighting for a playoff spot.
Were we?
Oh no, you weren't. But you were. You were at least making it interesting because you were winning games that you weren't supposed to, I guess.
We can't tell me that. We have a ton of talent. We just got injured really early, and we can't use that every year. Ever since the Super Bowl, I swear everyone's like, "Whoa, we're hurt." It's just like, gotta get healthy.
Yeah. But, well, it's when you have a team that's 55 deep compared to a team that's 12 deep between NBA and NFL, you've got to have pieces to replace. There's some players that there aren't another player like that. But you've got to find ways to make up with those disadvantages. And, also, big name in the free agency has been the Raiders. They've made a lot of moves. Ton of moves.
It'll be interesting to see how Las Vegas does for them this year. When I was down there recruiting this year, we got to see this, just from the highways. The stadium it's sweet.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how everyone does down there. But it should be a pretty good home field advantage, because I'm sure it's going to be pretty wild though too.
Yeah, I was down in Los Angeles last summer, and we flew, or 2 summers ago, and we flew down by the new stadium there. My goodness.
For the Chargers?
For the Chargers and the Rams. It was ridiculous. And that was just before, that was kind of like when it was still setting up.
What were you doing in Eaglewood? That's pretty wild.
We were coming down LAX. I was down there for a couple of days. We went to a Dodgers game, went to Universal Studios, hung out at a friend's place, watched the Beaver.
So you've seen him from the plane?
Yeah.
So we said,
we flew down. We were over there. We drove over. We went to Santa Monica, and then we came back and kind of drove over by like UCLA. And
what do you think about Santa Monica? It's pretty sweet, isn't it?
It was pretty interesting. I was surprised to see that many people out there on the beach, but I got to try the pier roller coaster.
How's that?
It wasn't really as much as you paid to get on there. It really didn't fit the bill. But it was, you know what? It's one of those things, like, you're down there, you gotta at least try it once, kind of deal.
No, I don't think I'd do it. You probably paid $20.
Pretty close. I think it was more like 15, something like that. And you got 2 rounds around, and of course you had the kids screaming at you the whole time, and the little brats.
They got you good there, bud. In Cali.
They're all over the place. But no, it was, and then trying to find. The most interesting part was just trying to find a place to park.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. You aren't going to find any free parking unless they get a the underground railroad going from LA to Santa Monica. Going on the trains. We travel by train quite a bit. We saw some interesting things on the train down there in LA, and some really in West Hollywood. We saw some really, really interesting things walking down there. we made the mistake of stop too early when we were going down. We were like, oh, we gotta at least go down Hollywood and see what it's like. And so brother and I were on the train. We go there, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, this is a stop. It says West Hollywood, and then there's another one, but I think we go past that when we overshoot it. Well, the other one takes you to Hard Rock Cafe and takes you where all the things are. We didn't take that one. We took the one earlier, so we were walking down because we were wanting to look at stars. We were looking at the stars on the pavement, trying to find specific ones. And I will say, I mean, you see the streets are just like walking in a movie theater. I mean, it's sticky, it's stuff all over the place. When you get closer to where all the, it gets cleaner and cleaner when you get closer to where all the people, all the tourist attractions are. But from that point on, where it's kind of more bare and there's not as many people, I mean, it's kind of grimy on your shoes and you're kind of watching what you step in.
Oh, yeah.
But we met some interesting folks down there, and it was, you know, as much as I learned that I don't want to live in LA ever, it was at least an experience to going down there and seeing what the smog feels like. When you look up in the sky and it goes from, there's like a layer of yellow to blue, it's kind of gross.
Yeah, you couldn't get me to live in LA.
It was, well, and then from going to the Dodgers game, so we left, about 2 hours before the game was supposed to start, and my buddy literally lived downtown LA, so we were like a mile and a half. I mean, if we walked to the game, we would have made it, except to get there, I probably wouldn't have want to walked in that part, because so it took us about 4 hours to get a mile and a half to the Dodgers. So we didn't get there till about the 6th inning. And then, of course, I stood in line trying to get nachos, and that was another 45 minutes. So I didn't get to my seat till about inning number 8 or 7.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so it was about 4 hours to get from a mile and a half from my buddy's apartment to the game. But when you take the buses, it takes about 20 minutes. So and it was a Tuesday night. It was Cubs Dodgers. Tuesday night, we're thinking, okay, you know, it's not a weekend game. It's kind of an off day game. It's not going to be as rigorous to get to, except they're playing the Cubs. So, of course, it made everything a little bit more costly in spending that much time in a car. You really learn. I will say there was a lot of bonding in that car.
Oh, we got out and started walking.
We were pretty close, but then again, I wouldn't want to walk through that area at night trying to get back to his apartment.
I would have definitely Ubered.
Yeah, well, that's what we did when we went to USC to do when he took me to USC. We're going to a party, so I got the whole experience because I got to go and actually go to Beverly Hills for like someone's party or something like that. And it was, it was literally like the movies. Like they had a bartender, they had security guards at the bathroom, they had a bouncer for someone's backyard party.
Oh yeah.
And but I got to go to USC, went to his frat, dominated a beer pong. I mean, that was probably the highlight of it all, was beating all these frat people at beer pong. From Eastern Oregon, still got the shot.
Huh.
But
that's funny.
Yeah, it was 4 days is a really long time in LA. That's what I found out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's not, there's a lot of things to do, but there really isn't, I guess, in a weird way. There wasn't really that much because we would go do all our we would kind of scout out what we're going to do in the morning. So my brother and I, we went so we did all our things. We go get breakfast, and we went to the Staples Center, walked around. They were shut down. We were kind of joking about getting Sparks tickets on the cheap, just to go inside. But
see all the banners?
Yeah, see all the banners, see the game. But no, we walked around. We saw ESPN LA and kind of just walked around. They didn't really open anything. I mean, there wasn't too much down there anyways. But then in the afternoon, it was the same time the baseball College World Series was going on. Oregon State was winning the title. So all the afternoons, we just go back and watch the game. That was our... So it's like we took an experience to LA and we're still watching Beavers baseball.
Gotta stay local.
Yeah, but it was interesting. It was a fun trip. We had about a 4-hour layover in Seattle, so that took a while at the old airport.
4 hours?
Yeah, it was 4 hours. Which, man, there's not much to do at an airport for 4 hours' sake, and they didn't even, most of the spots didn't even carry the Mariners game.
Really?
We were looking for something, and at that time, my brother wasn't 21 yet, so we couldn't take him to a bar. I remember that. Because we wanted to, when he was 21, we wanted to go down to the Comedy Store down there. Because those guys, I mean, so the Comedy Store. You've heard of the Comedy Store down in LA?
No, I haven't.
It's owned by Pauly Shore.
Oh, really?
And so what they do is they have a lot of, I mean, it's kind of like the local spot for all the big name guys that aren't on tour. They go there and they keep doing their stand-up. So you'll see like Chris D'Elia, Joe Rogan, like those guys are like nightly people there. Like they're there like once or twice a week.
That's wild.
So you go in there, you pay like $20 to get in, you get a drink, and then you get like a showing of like Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, Bert Kreischer, all these big name comedians, stand-up guys. And it's more of like just a local, it's like their local club just kind of testing out new material and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So that was the big thing, but he wasn't 21, so we couldn't go do that. But that was kind of if we do anything down there, that would be the main one, because I love watching stand-up and listening to stand-up comedy stuff, but especially more the vulgar guys. I mean, Joe Rogan can get really pretty intense with his stand-up.
Yeah, he's pretty wild.
But I do love his podcast. His podcast is pretty good.
Yeah, I watched a couple of his podcasts. They're pretty nice.
So, Chance, so with your quarantining, What has there been any big shows or anything that you've kind of binged on, TV, movies? What's your go-to?
So, I mean, right now for me, it's so close to our signing day that I've been on my phone texting and calling a lot of kids since I recruit for both of our teams. So I spend a lot of my time doing that. And then if I do watch anything, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. So
yeah,
kind of weird. So that's a pretty wild show. So yeah, it's been wild, and there's a ton of seasons. So
oh yeah, no,
I'm sure it just gets pretty wild. If it keeps up, I'll have plenty to watch.
Oh yeah, no, there's. I've jumped around. There's a few. I've been rewatching all the Simpsons. It's like, well, they got 30 seasons, so I won't. I shouldn't outwatch the whole series to this point before everything's back to kind of normal.
I read that. 30 seasons?
30 plus. They're 30 plus. I'm only in season 5 right now. I just started up season 5, I think, last night.
So how many shows are usually in a season?
Oh, it can be anywhere between 20 to 28.
Holy heck.
Yeah, Simpsons is pretty. Their seasons are long. I mean, they're. Some of the newer shows, like South Park, they'll do like 10 in the fall and then 10 in the spring, but they'll be considered a different season. There's that format has been kind of picked on now. So they'll take like a break for a couple months and then come back. Rick and Morty's kind of the same. Well, Rick and Morty is kind of they did that for a bit the first couple seasons, and then there was a huge like wait between season 3 and season 4, season 2 and season 3. There was just a big wait, and everybody's like, "Oh man, it's been like a year and a half. When are they going to do another season?" And then I think there was some contract things they had to go through. They got everything cleared up, and now with this whole HBO Max coming up in May, I think that's going to be a complete game changer in streaming because they went out and bought all the streaming rights to these big shows. And HBO Max is partnered with Warner Brothers. So all the shows, especially on Netflix, all the people that are Friends watchers now have to go and watch that on HBO Max because they bought the streaming rights. So once that airs this May, all their episodes will now be on there instead of Netflix. So Netflix is kind of getting shafted a little bit because they got all the Marvel movies, went to Disney Plus, and then The Office. I think that's part of one. I'm not sure if that's just going to go to NBC but there's going to be a time where The Office gets pulled off Netflix.
It is what it is, man. Wild, Wild West.
Yeah, well, the HBO Max thing's kind of interesting because you got what's Warner Brothers, so you also have DC movies, HBO. So, I mean, it's going to have a really big catalog, and I know I'm going to try it just because there's going to be a lot of things on there that it's like, yikes. I'm a big Hulu fan right now. That's kind of where most of my shows are, like Always Sunny in Philadelphia and all the kind of some of those Fox shows I enjoy. But it's weird how everything's getting streaming, and now you're doing live TV off streaming. So, I mean, just having cable is not good enough anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty tough. Also, I watched Tiger King a little bit.
Oh, my goodness.
It's pretty wild.
How far are you into that?
I'm just into the second episode.
Okay.
But Oklahoma is kind of wild.
Oh man, I will just say if you're only in the second episode, you are just scratching the surface on the craziness.
Really?
It gets weirder every episode.
I just can't believe that people are hanging out with freaking tigers, man.
I don't know which one should be more in danger, the Tigers or Joe Exotic. If you're hanging out with one or the other, I might be pointing towards the Tiger.
I just can't believe he changed his last name to Exotic.
Well, it's technically his showbiz name. He's got a hyphenated last name. It's like it's really strange. He's got a few last names.
Really?
But you go through, man. Yeah, I don't want to say. I can't really go into because I don't want to spoil it for you. I want you to experience the craziness.
I'll get back to you because I'll finish it today. I mean, I don't got much going on, but yeah. How many episodes are there?
I think there's 7. There's 7 episodes, and they're all about 45 to 50 minutes long.
Gosh, the first one I was just like, I had to turn it off. I was like, what is going on?
Well, I would just say the first one's kind of tame compared to the other ones. It gets weirder and weirder because it's going more into the backstory, and I didn't know that this guy ran for president.
What?
Yeah, he tried to run for president, and he tried to run for is either governor of Oklahoma or senator of Oklahoma or something like that.
I didn't win.
Oh my goodness, they have a whole episode dedicated to his politics run, and it's hilarious because his videos. And if you can go on YouTube, and they still have them all posted. Like all his stuff's on YouTube, and I kind of started watching them this week. It's like, and he had these like initial questions to the governor or to President Trump, and it'd be funny because that would be the initial first 5 minutes, and then it becomes like a 15-minute bashing on Carol Basket. Like it would just instantly switch over, and I mean he definitely has the bone pick with her.
Oh yeah, and then I watched the Aaron Hernandez thing. That was wild. That was crazy. Have you watched that?
No, I have not. Those documentaries, they can be something completely else.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple things I've been watching. Not too much because I'm still trying to stay focused on recruiting and all that stuff. But there's a couple things,
Yeah, it gets to be a wild whirlwind, especially when you're trying to figure out, what am I going to watch next, and then you've got all these options. That's the thing now. It's like you have all these options of what you can watch, and you still go back to you investigate a little bit, and you find yourself watching some really weird stuff, and then you just go back. Okay, well, I'm okay. I'm going to go back to my shows.
Oh, yeah.
I already got my shows, so
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've rewatched Always Sunny in Philadelphia or rewatched Family Guy. I just got done rewatching American Dad again for the jillionth time. But going back through all those shows and then the new ones on Netflix, kind of find them out. And I will say the new Bert Kreischer stand-up is hilarious. He's the next guy I want to see. Either him or Joe Rogan or Chappelle would be the three guys I would want to see do live stand-up next.
Not a big live stand-up guy. I don't know why. I just don't get too excited about it.
I especially the crazy guys. Jim Gaffigan would be another one, but he's a little bit more mellow.
Oh yeah, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's there's too many options these days. It's what there are. You got all of it on your phone. You can watch anything you want, but you choose not to. That's where I found out is like, I could check that out, but I watched it for like 5 minutes and like, you know what? Not really feeling it. But then again, that's why I do my obscure movies, because I do find joy in watching those really weird movies.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm there with you there, but it's gonna be like some stuff to watch, I guess.
It just depends on what obscure means to your what your point of view is on obscure, because some of them obscure can be it's actually pretty normal. My sense of obscure, it's obscure. I mean, it is out there. I just recorded my first one, Strange Wilderness, not too long ago. That'll be released today. And then second one is going to be Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. That'll be in a couple of days. That's an obscure. It's one of those sci-fi B-rated, really late night movies. You're drunk off your ass. You're looking for something to laugh to. Something that's just really terrible CGI and sharks jumping out of the water and taking down airplanes. It's where I go.
That's definitely you.
That's definitely me. This is what happens when there's no sports. I lose all my sanity and I start watching movies like that.
The other day, I turned on the TV and on ESPN there were spinning seats.
Oh, Ocho, ESPN the Ocho, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was dying.
Cherry seed spitting. I watched that. Yeah, that's.
Cherry seed spitting.
See,
I was absolutely dying.
They need
these cats spit they were getting into it.
I don't know how much content they have of all those events, but it would be awesome to just turn ESPN Classic into ESPN the Ocho.
Yeah, I kind of like to see what we can pull out of Eastern Oregon for that competition. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They're have Grant Pendleton and have Tyler measuring on the teams and stuff. It'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, it would be. That would be kind of the go-to. That would be very entertaining. And who knows, with Vern Entertainment, if we grow, we can start doing that kind of stuff. That would be the stuff that would be interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Vern Entertainment presents Cherry Seed Spittin'.
I was commentating on some of Pelton's finest out there, just spitting some cherry seeds.
You'd probably have to switch it up to like wheat seed spitting or something like that.
Yeah, I know. It'd be pretty fun.
It would be good. Well, Chance, I'm gonna let you go here. And thanks for joining us in here. Yeah, we're about that, almost close to that hour mark. But yeah, we're back. Podcasting's back now. We're kind of in quarantine, I guess you can put it. So this is our edition of that. But we'll be back every Sunday with our podcast. Movie reviews will be a little bit more consistent. So everybody have a great one. Vern Entertainment, we're out.